So today's the feast day of St. Philip Neri, definitely one of my favorite saints. And I remember in theology, we got to do a little pilgrimage, visit some of the famous sites from his life. And the thing that really stuck out to me was that everything was very close. Because we're in Rome really for a day, and we're able to see everywhere he moved and worked, at least during his time in Rome. And as I was really reflecting on that today, kind of made me think about my life this past year here at Duke, because in the same way, kind of bouncing back and forth between East and West campus, but pretty much active in the same place, and very, very happy with everything that's going on. And St. Philip Neri, there's so many stories I could tell. I remember growing up, I was always very fascinated by his life and seeing the different things. He had a lay apostolate for a while, and then, he was eventually ordained priest, a little bit kind of wandering, a little bit of a different situation. He went to Rome really looking to be a missionary, and they told him, well, your India, because that's where he wanted to be, is going to be Rome. And so he stayed there working with young men. And one of my favorite stories is always that he started this community, the Oratorians, who are still around today, and so the young men would come and kind of play and work and study there. And one day they were playing basically handball against the wall on the outside, and inside was his bedroom. This was during siesta, which for the Italians, of course, is sacred. And so his neighbor, one of the other priests, was like, Father Filippo, how can you possibly let them play handball on your wall during siesta? He was just amazed by his patience. And so St. Philip responded, if it keeps them out of sin, I would let them chop wood on my back. And he's somebody who just has always really impressed me with his patience, with his joy, with the love that he had both for Christ and for others. He was kind of a mystic. He would fall into ecstasy while celebrating Mass. They say that sometimes the server for the Mass would take off for a while and come back and catch up with him later, because he'd been in ecstasy for a good while. And then kind of an interesting story, sometimes he would read jokes right before Mass in order to avoid going into ecstasy. So that's something that, I don't necessarily share the same experience, but that it's always been something that helps me a lot. And to see just this man who was totally in love with Christ and did such great things for God and for others. And he left a phrase which I think is very helpful for all of us. He said, in his prayer, he said, Lord, take care of today. Take care of me today. Help me get through today, and I will not fear tomorrow. So that's my wish, my desire, my prayer for all of you. God bless.